Hello, this is Tom Brewer, president of your Charlotte Firefighters Association, Local 660. Last week, we put out Shane Nance's lawsuit. It spurred a lot of good conversation. We've had a lot of questions asked, a lot of good feedback, and we're going to talk about that, but we're not going to talk about it today. We're going to talk about that Friday, March 2nd, and that'll start at 10 a.m. with our virtual town hall meeting. We'll answer any questions we can from you, and we're going to talk about a lot of topics, including the lawsuit, retirement system, grievances, investigations, a litany of issues. So today, let's talk about something where we can all agree on. I think it's important that we find common ground. I think a lot of the people in the fire department that we hear from are getting very tired and just really frustrated with the delay and almost ignoring tactics that have been employed by not just the city of Charlotte, but by the fire department as well. We raise questions up through our chain of command. We raise questions through the union, and we don't get answers. Some of the questions are tough, but we have to be able to have those tough conversations. You know, sometimes we have to agree to disagree, have the tough conversations so we can move forward. Let me give you an example, the promotional process. Promotional processes are important to all of us, whether you're participating in them or not. And they're important for a lot of reasons. But let's talk about one thing. Again, let's talk about something we can all agree on. That if we're going to have a process, it should be followed. And we're going to talk about the division chief process, last year's division chief process, and how it relates to this delay and defend, deflect, ignore tactics that are going on right now. When the process was announced, the battalion chiefs were told the list would be good for 6 months. They were told in a staff meeting that, they were told in emails that, and that's actually the city's past practice. Lists are good for 6 months. The HR director can go to the Civil Service Board and have them extended another 6 months. Not only do we have all that documentation that backs that up, we also have an audio recording of Chief Johnson in a staff meeting where he tells the battalion chiefs that division chief list and above, the lists are only going to be good for 6 months. So it would stand to reason if all the documentation, if all the literature, if past practice and the fire chief says that the division chief list would be good for 6 months. Well, and let me be clear when we talk about this, we're not getting on the 2 division chiefs that were recently promoted. They did nothing wrong. They took a process, they earned their rank, they were up there on the list. They were the next to be promoted. However, the list had expired. And this was brought to the fire department's attention prior to the promotion and then again after the first promotion. And it was also brought to the city's attention and the Civil Service Board's attention by the union. It was like, hey, the list has expired. They're being promoted off an expired list. So a complaint was filed by one of the participants in the process. And again, all the information we have, all of the proof, not conjecture, not opinion, all of the proof we had that said the list was good for 6 months, the city opened up an investigation. Let me backtrack really quick. So in the January meeting, we had raised this question before they promoted Division Chief Boucher. And the question was asked during the Civil Service Board, by the Civil Service Board, to Chief Johnson and HR Director Simpson, who was responsible for extending the list. There was a brief silence, and then the HR director said that was the fire chief is responsible for extending the list. Brothers and sisters, that's the first time we had ever heard that. Matter of fact, while the meeting was still going on, I emailed HR Director Simpson and I asked her to please provide any documentation that stated that the fire chief had the authority to extend the list. That was in January, the first Tuesday in January. We're still waiting for her to respond. She has provided zero documentation. The very next week, the fire chief was in the meeting with the Civil Service Board or on the call, and when the question was asked who extended the list, he heard the HR director say the fire chief. Well, the very next week, under deposition, Chief Johnson was asked by the attorney who's responsible for extending the list, and he said that's HR's job. That's an HR function. He doesn't get involved in that. Something along those lines. Well, why didn't he say that the week before? Why is HR Director Simpson still not provided that information? Well, rather than provide the information, the city has done what they always do. They've started an investigation. We're over 6 weeks into an investigation as to who's responsible, or did the fire department follow the promotional policy that was set forth for that process. Again, it was set forth in writing. Rule 9, none of that stuff's applicable because they said they were, whether it's legal or not, because they said they were following Rule 9. They made it a rule. They said the list was good for 6 months. They made that part of the process. So rather than own up and say, hey, yeah, that's what we did, we're doing an investigation. An investigation that has gone on for over 6 weeks when all the information that they put out says the list was good for 6 months. We can believe there's an investigation, or we can believe this is a delay, defend, deflect tactic, or just ignoring the problem, hoping it goes away, which we get way too much of now. Whether we're asking questions about the promotional processes, about workers' comp, we don't get answers. We get delay tactics. Again, we can disagree on a lot of things. I think all of us as firefighters agree that's unacceptable. And if we don't agree it's unacceptable, we better think about it and come together and all say, yeah, that's unacceptable. I mean, it blows my mind that that's the kind of stuff that's going on right now with this city and this department. Again, it's unacceptable. While it's happening to the division chief process this time, it happened to the firefighter 2 process last time. What if that was you? What if that was your son, your daughter, that this was happening to? But right now it's happening to your brother and sister firefighters. And this is where we need to unify. We need to come together on issues like this and say, you know what? We can do better. We can do better. So again, just wanted to give you guys an example, a quick update. Friday, 10 a.m., virtual town hall. Let's get as many people as we can to participate. Let's talk about these issues, and let's find a way for us to come together in solidarity and speak with one voice and move this fire department and move our cause forward. Thank you. Be safe.